Hey guys, it's Hayes with CheatSheetPros.com. Today is the day before the Super Bowl, Saturday, February 11th, 2023, and I apologize, I haven't done any videos this week. My son's birthday was Tuesday, and he woke up, tested positive for COVID, and my wife tested positive for COVID, so we've just kind of been hanging around the house, tinkering, so I wanted to get back and do another video evaluating the NBA prize pick sheet for the player props and look at a couple of different things. One of the things I love to do is go back and just kind of research, look at the different projections, the last 7-day averages. One of the things I've noticed over the last 15-20 times I've done this is it's hit or miss. Like one day the projections are absolutely on fire and they'll go 20-5, and then the next day they'll just completely whiff, but then the last 10 hit rate will just go on fire. So there hasn't been a consistent way to look at this, but we're going to look at a couple different things. So what we're looking at here, this is the NBA cheat sheet. So what I do on the days I go back and do some research is I come in and I add these two columns here that shows what the exact result was and if it was over or under. And today I added this little column which we're going to talk about to kind of look at stuff. So real quick, we're going to take a look at the cheat gap plays. We're going to look at those. They did pretty good. I'm not going to add all that up, but it is about 60% on the hit rate. Over here for the confidence percentage, it did really well. I think I put it down here 14-9 and then 19-12 over the top 30. So confidence percentage continues to be a good source to sort by high to low and then look at your plays. And I didn't look at bottom up. Let me do that. Okay, so it was good on the top. So we got 4, 8. So 8-0 on unders, and then a bunch of them went over. One of the things you have to be careful with hit rate is because Prize Picks moves their line so quick. So if a guy's went under 7 or 8 times, they'll keep lowering that line. So then he's more advantageous to get an over. So that's something to take a look at. So let's look at the Fantasy Pros projections. Again, this is blank because they don't do free throws. So we got to scroll down here, and then we're going to take a look here. And you can see they really did not do too good. I'd say they only had about 40% of overs. A lot of unders hit there, which I've noticed Fantasy Pros the first couple of days did really well, and then Roto's been the better projection system so far. And then the same thing, kind of looking at unders, their projections were so far off. They had all these guys so far under and a bunch of overs, so keep that in mind when you're looking at those, but we'll continue to monitor them. Looking at the Roto projections, they didn't do too bad. They hit 5 of the top 6, and they had a chunk here of unders, which it looks like Dylan Brooks was a couple, and just kind of mixed around, and then they had some overs, some unders. As far as hit rates, let's take a look at those. So about 50% on the top end, nothing great. Flipping here on unders, again, a bunch of them, lines got so low, people went under. But some of these projections, like here is a good example of one. So we have Diop. So his PRA was 21.5. He ended with 25. But you come over here, the last 7 days, he's only been averaging 15. And then Fantasy Pros projected him for 10. But then Roto projected him for 30. So Roto was on point there. So something to take a look at. Let's look at Roto projections. They're the ones that have usually been fire recently. So oh yeah, we just did look at them. So 5 of the top 6, and then kind of 50-50 after that. As far as the hot picks, cool picks, these are kind of indicators to help us dig down our plays. Looking at the hot picks, I think they were 5 and 6. So we hit 5, missed 6, so a little less than 50%. And then on the ice picks, which are under plays, they did much better. They were 8 and 5. So we had 8 wins here for the unders. So ice, think of that as cold under. And then 5 of them went over, so 8 and 5. So they combined for 13 and 11. So 52, 54%, somewhere around in there. And then the second tier indicators, the cooling off. I don't ever really look at these, but I'm just kind of curious to see how they did. There were so many of them. About 50%. Bunch of overs, bunch of unders. So kind of a middle ground. So this is just kind of a play suggestion if you're looking at those. What I did notice is the heating up plays did really well last night. They were probably the best indicator, and they went 10 and 4. So the 4 losses were these right here, and then they kind of exploded on the top end, hitting 10 out of 4. So confidence percentage going 19 and 12. Roto 5 and 1 on their top 6 projections. Last 10 hit rate was 8 and 2 on their top 10, and heating up was 10 and 4, and then a combined ice picks, hot picks 13 and 11. So again, one of the things people want to know, they want a place where they can go and just say, give me picks. Well, what we're trying to do is give you the data and let you come up with a process on picks. So again, these are the last 10 games. Green is a over, red is an under, and we have last 5, last 10 game hit rates, and then any streaks they have, either streak over or streak under on here. Now, one of the things I wanted to do was kind of play with this column a little bit, so let me unlock this. And I thought this was kind of interesting. Let me slide this over. I think I cut some of the names off on you. So over here, first I pulled in game total. It really didn't do a lot. But what I wanted to do was come over here to this section. So in the chat group, we've been doing a lot of DFS, uploading our custom fantasy point per minute projections, which you can see their season here, their last 5, and we can see any changes up or down. And typically what I do is I upload a mixture of the two. I do like a 70-30 average. So the players that are hot, I get a little bit better projection. The players that are cold, the projection goes down a little bit. So what I wanted to do was just see like the value plays. So if you purely just look at the fantasy points per minute last 5 based on their salary, I wanted to see the value. So I'm going to pull that in. And then over here we have the stud index, which honestly I forgot about. It's just been sitting there. And I want to look at the stud index and see if that's any indication, because the stud index, it brings in usage, fantasy point per minute increases, decreases, minutes played on the court. It's just kind of a catch-all that we put together to give us something else to kind of take a look at. So we're going to search these columns here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So value is going to be 6 and stud index is going to be 8. So I'm going to come over here, and you don't have to memorize this. I'm not asking you to enter this. I just want to take a look at it. So over the value, so let's take a look at this. Let me lock this so the formulas don't keep popping up in your face. So these are the DFS value indexes. So typically on DK, 5x is kind of what you want to shoot for as a floor. If it's 4.5, 4 lower, that usually means a player's cold. They're not going to hit value. And if you get around 5.5, 6, 6.5, that's a player that's hot. That should do really good. So what I wanted to do was just bring these values over here and just kind of look and see how they did. So we're going to kind of do it together. So these are the players that are projected. Now it's going to clump all the player together with all their props. So that's good, because if one misses, we can kind of see, you know, what's going on. So over here, the players that were projected good, you can see we got a bunch of overs up here. So 2, 5, 5 and 1, 5 and 3, 6 and 3. 6 and 6, and then so 12 and 6 on the top 18, so that's not too bad. And then over here, when we get an under, we can see that's a particular player, so we can look at it and determine, you know, did we like that player, not like that player. And typically if one player goes over here, let me get him, you can see he usually goes over on the majority of the stats, and you can tell that on the game logs. If you're looking at points or points versus assist, just look, you know, does he go over on one when he doesn't go over on the other? Or if one goes over, are they more likely that both of them go over? And then you can see like Terrence Mann, Robert Williams, they typically don't get a ton of minutes. And then over here, Josh Green exploded last night. So you can kind of get an idea of the different players. So I thought that was kind of fun. It might be something that we implement. And then here on the under, this had a 0, so I'm not going to look at Conley because it just didn't pull a number for some reason. Maybe he didn't play any minutes. I don't know. Over here, but these guys here that are projected a lot lower, look at how many unders there were. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 15. So 15 and 5 on unders. But basically what we would be able to do with this is kind of come over here and say, okay, Dylan Brooks, they're projecting him not to do as well. So let's look at the under on his props. Booker, we know Booker's a stud, but he's kind of just getting back into it. He's been playing less minutes, so that could affect it, which we saw he went over on 2, under on 3. Kyrie kind of split. Well, over on 2, under on 4. We were leaning unders there. Keegan went off and had a good night, which a lot of these trades, players are now playing different minutes. Grayson Allen doesn't really play a ton of minutes or really do a whole lot, so he was projected a big under. Jeremy Grant is a little bit better. He kind of split, but it kind of gives you an idea of what to look for. And let's look at the top end again. So looking up here at the top end, so I would look at this and say, okay, Kessler, Caleb Martin I don't really care about, Diop I don't really care about, Jonas, Jalen Green, and these guys. And, you know, maybe these are the guys you take a look at for an under. You know, that's something that we could look at and possibly consider. Now what I want to do is go over to the stud index, so you don't have to worry about the fantasy aspect of it and just the pure whatever formula we have for the stud index. Honestly, I can't even remember what it was because it was like 3 years ago when I built it. So maybe we have a stud number in here and we come in and we say, okay, let's sort the studs high to low. This is usage, minutes, fantasy point per minute projections, and I really like this. Oh my God, look at this. So massive overrun. I'm not even gonna, so that is roughly 30, 40, so that's about 40 plays right there with 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 losses. So roughly about 30 and 14, about 67 to 70%. So the stud index gave you a lot of overs, but again, keep in mind, it's this player. So we would say, okay, Lillard, Embiid, Tatum. I loved Tatum yesterday. I had a write-up, but I ended up not really posting it. Tatum had something crazy. Let me see if I have it here. So he had played Charlotte twice, and on the 14th of January, he put up a 33.96 line, and then on the 16th of January, he put up a 51.95 line, and then Melo and Rozier, Melo did 31 and 25 points, so I had a big write-up for them, but then he was questionable with an illness, so then I held on to it, and then it was so late in the day, I just didn't post it. But on the cheat sheet, Phoenix plus 1.5 seemed like a lock, and then also I bet Boston first half. That seemed like a lock on the sheet, and both of those won, so that was kind of fun to see. Anyways, back to the stud index. Let's flip this over here, and let's look at the low end of the stud index. So these are non-studs, you could say. So Eubanks, I'm not really worried about him, but if you would have taken some overs there or unders there, you would have missed him. It looks like he went 1 and 4. But then we have a bunch of unders here, so typically what we could do is sort this and then say, okay, these top 4 or 5 guys, these are the guys we want to look at. Well, Keegan Murray I'd throw out because I like him. But then these other guys, you know, Conley hasn't really been doing well. He was just coming back. He was questionable. Grayson Allen hasn't really been doing much. That gives you kind of a chunk of unders. Then we have a couple guys here. Kessler went over. And one of the things we might be able to do is just kind of mix in some of these other plays and get an idea on, you know, what's going on. There's so many different things you can do this sheet. I get a lot of people that are, let's look at this, hot picks by stud index. Okay, so we got the top 4 and then 4 and then the lowest 2. If you kick those out, they missed. And then let's look at ice picks. Ice picks under, let's sort by stud index. All right, so the ice picks, if you kick out the studs, those went under, but the bottom half, they all stayed under, so that's interesting. So we're just looking at different ways that we can possibly, you know, play with this. And the heating up stud index, yeah, the majority of them stayed on the upper, so we might have a little bit of traction here. Again, this is the first time I've ever looked at this, so, and let's look at cooling off stud index, let's look at low to high. And so a lot of those players, but look, a lot of the low stud index, a lot of those stayed under, and then the higher ones, you could have faded off and stayed over, so that's interesting. So I'm going to leave this stud index column in here when I share this sheet so you guys can click around and kind of see what you like with it. But just wanted to do a video, kind of look back and, you know, just take a look at the plays, and that stud index, I might add that to the sheet on the PM update today. That looks pretty interesting, and it looks like it'd be a lot of fun. But anyways, I just wanted to touch base with you guys. I live in Kansas City, for those of you that don't know, so I'm really excited about the Chiefs game tomorrow. It's our, I think, 3rd Super Bowl in 5 years, so Mahomes has been excellent. The town is absolutely electric. Everybody, I was at CVS yesterday, and I was wearing a Chiefs hoodie, and I had numerous people just, hey, go Chiefs. They were so excited. So anyways, good luck today, guys. I'm going to get these sheets up, get them out there, and have a good weekend, and go Chiefs.